Okay, this is what it should look like once you have done all your decreases and things like that. What's next?
Next, you're going to have to close up this top here. And there are several options, but the one I want to show you is going to be the Kitchener stitch. You start by having the same number of stitches on 2 needles. For our purposes, that means moving the stitches from needles 1 and 2 onto 1 needle. And you're just going to slip them across. Now, normally, when people talk about slip stitch, this is what they mean. Go in purlwise and just move it over. You don't twist it. The only time you'd want to twist it is when you're doing slip knit.
Now, if I'm looking at this particular image, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on each needle approximately?
That's correct.
Okay. So what's next?
So you're going to take your yarn and you're going to take a length that's maybe at least longer than 3 times this length. You want it to be pretty generous because you're going to have to weave in this end later. And you're going to, thank you, you're going to just cut it. And now, you're going to get yourself a darning needle, yarn needle, whatever you want to call it. And you're going to thread this needle. There's a 2-step setup to the Kitchener stitch, and after that it's a 4-step repeat. So the 2-step setup, you go into this first stitch on the front needle as if you were going to purl. Just go in purlwise, pull this through and just leave it like that. You're going to go into this first stitch on the back needle, knitwise, and you're going to pull it through and you're just going to leave it like that. That's your setup. These next 4 steps are what's going to make the Kitchener stitch. You go into this stitch here, knitwise, pull it all the way through, and you're just going to pop this stitch right off. Okay, you go into the next stitch, purlwise, you leave it on. You go into this stitch here, the first stitch on the back needle, purlwise, pull the yarn all the way through, pop the stitch off. You're going to go into that next stitch here, knitwise, show you how I'm getting into the stitch here, pull it all the way through, and leave it on. Now, a lot of people have problems with the Kitchener stitch, so I want to do the whole row to really show it.
Okay. Now, why do people have problems with this particular stitch?
It's a 4-stitch repeat, and I think a lot of people just have problems memorizing the pattern of go through knitwise, go through purlwise. So you're going to go through this one knitwise, pop it off, go through the next one purlwise. I find that when you're grafting something like ribbing, it's easiest just to have the knit side always showing. You just keep changing it so that'll work. I've tried grafting it other ways and it always gives me trouble. Going to the next one purlwise, pop it off, and go into the next one knitwise and leave it on. The front row is always going to be knit off and purl stays on. The back one is always going to be purl off and knit stays on. So.
You almost forgot it there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, look, even the most experienced knitters sometimes forget stuff.
Oh yeah, I always look up Kitchener stitch because I always forget which side is knit, which side is purl. I always have to look it up.
And that's the best part about what we're doing here is because even with the fact that, you know, we have a lot of viewers from all over the world and all different types of skill levels here. And even with a stitch like this, some people may say, oh, I've done this before, and they may not remember the pattern, so this is what we're doing here.
Yes. I highly recommend one book. It's called The Knitter's Companion, and that has all of this stuff in just really quick encyclopedia of knitting kind of a thing. you can just look up what stitch you want and it's sitting right there. It doesn't have the two setups for the Kitchener, and I don't know why a lot of people teach it without that setup, but I think it gives you a much nicer edge if you have it.
Because it seems to me that, again, with this particular sort of stitch, there's a certain way of doing things, and when you do things automatically, like a 4-stitch repeat, you may forget a step, you may do steps twice because it's like taking a needle on, etc., etc., and this is why we're doing the whole row here, to close this particular thing for everybody out there. And by the way, again, thank you very much, because we are now number 4 on iTunes. Thank you very, very, very much. That is, without you guys, we'd just be doing this for our own amusement. And we're doing it for a lot of people's amusement. And we thank you for that. And as you can see...
We're almost done.
Yeah, look at that. Isn't that pretty? That is cool. I mean, I'm watching it here, and I'm watching it from behind the camera, and it's kind of cool. You're seeing something being created, and that's just pretty darn awesome.
Knitting is a lot of fun. This happens a lot. You just have this extra bit of string here that goes over, just pop it off.
Now we're almost to the end. What happens here?
Okay, at this point we've knitted off our last one. When we take this off, there's nothing left on this needle. And you're just going to go into this last stitch purlwise. And you're done. Take this needle. Now I find this always gives me a little bit of a bump here, so I work backwards into this stitch right here.
Let's just show it there, show it to everyone to see. There you go.
Okay. And pull that right into the mitten. And then you can go to the inside and weave in your ends. And then you're done.